Polis Productions.
Let's explore the early days of Sonic and talk about a game not everyone knows about. Here's some context. Both Sonic 1 and 2 had 8-bit ports for the Master System and Game Gear. Those were completely different from their 16-bit counterparts, but were fun games in their own right. Well, except for Sonic 2 on Game Gear. That port was a mess. In 1993, Aspect, who had worked on the second 8-bit game, developed a new title called Sonic the Hedgehog Chaos, or just Sonic Chaos. Which is it? Like the previous game, the Master System port was only released in Europe, whereas the Game Gear version saw a worldwide release just 1 month later.
I first came across this game in the mid-2000s. It was included in the Sonic Mega Collection Plus for the PlayStation 2, but it didn't really impress me at the time. It was only 5 years ago when I really sat down and got determined to beat it.
That same year, the Master System version would be the very last game I downloaded from the Wii Virtual Console before it shut down. Rest in peace. I'm still pissed about the 500 Wii points I had left and never got to spend.
Anyway, I thought both ports were mediocre at best and I haven't played them since. Meanwhile, I own the Master System cartridge, so it's a good time to revisit this game. Is Sonic Chaos worth getting today, and how does it compare to its two prequels? Let's see if this game can take the pixely 8-bit Hedgehog crown.
GFrom, the gamer, the legend, he's come to show you the way in this world of games. GFrom reviews.
Dr. Robotnik managed to get his hands on one of the Chaos Emeralds. This caused the other 5 emeralds to scatter across the island and the water to rise. Yeah, so we're back to 6 instead of 7. Less work for me. Now it's up to Sonic and Tails to get the emeralds back.
Pretty basic story, but we don't really play these games for their stories, do we?
This is the first 8-bit game to incorporate the Super Spin Dash. It's a great addition and works much better than in Sonic CD. The biggest change is that Tails isn't just part of the level cards anymore as scenery. Instead, you can actually play as him. At the beginning, you get to choose who you want to play as. It actually makes a difference. Tails is considered the easy mode. Sonic starts with 3 lives and no continues, whereas Tails starts with 5 lives and 3 continues. He's a little slower than Sonic and he can fly short distances. In Sonic 2 on the Mega Drive, Tails controlled like a groundhog. You couldn't fly when you played as him, so this marks the very first time you get to control him in the air. It's nowhere near as fluid as in later games. You have to stand still, press up and then jump. A little clunky at times, but I appreciate this feature. Makes it easier to reach higher places. Sonic on the other hand is a little faster and he can perform the super peel out from Sonic CD.
I rarely use it here for reasons I'll get into later, but I think every Sonic game should have this feature.
Rings still protect you from taking damage, but they have another purpose as well. When you collect 100 rings, you're immediately sent to a bonus stage where you can get a Chaos Emerald. By beating it, you skip the level you were in. So there are 2 ways to beat an act. This only works with Sonic though, because Tails can't collect Chaos Emeralds. For 100 rings, he gets an extra life instead. Business as usual. The video monitors are back, giving us the usual 10 rings, speed shoes, invincibility and extra lives. New are the rocket shoes, which make you fly for a bit. No checkpoints exist, but that's not an issue. There are some differences between the 2 ports. Again, the color palette on Game Gear is higher, but the resolution is lower. Some stages benefit from the color range on the handheld, looking better overall. The title screen looks nicer on Master System. The title cards don't say which act we're in on Game Gear.
We'll discuss more differences along the way. Let's check out the actual levels.
Like in almost any other Sonic title from that era, Tuquoise Hill Zone has a tropical theme with a bright blue sky. What makes this place quote-unquote unique are the 5 million springs scattered across the level. Many of them are hidden and even some badniks have springs on their backs. So this place is springy as all hell. The first 2 acts are very short and finding 100 rings is really easy. With the rocket shoes you can skip almost the entire thing. Fun mechanic, yes, but I kind of failed to see the point. The levels are short enough as they are. There are some hidden areas with goodies, so exploration is still encouraged. Spinning the bonus plate at the end can give you rewards if you're lucky. But what's up with that? 793 kilometers per hour?
I never understood this. Is this game actually trying to tell me that I ran at 793 kilometers per hour?
Does this look like fucking 793 kilometers per hour?
I just took it for granted that he's the fastest thing alive, but what if he's just the biggest fraud this side of South Island? Check his odometer. I think I'm onto something.
Apparently it's based on the time you took to finish the level. I'm sorry, but that's just stupid. In traditional 8-bit fashion, the third act is very short and offers a boss battle at the end. Like in Sonic 2, you don't fight Robotnik, but instead other robots. This time it's easier though, because there are rings you can collect. Not that you would need them. The first boss is a freaking joke. It's just a bigger ladybug with a spring on its back. Spin dash into it a few times and that's it. I've met scarier ladybugs on the playground. Tuquoise Hill Zone is a decent and straightforward first level, even though the springs can be annoying at times. It's a great display of the enhanced visuals compared to the first two 8-bit games with more detailed backgrounds and character sprites. Gigalopolis Zone, or Gigapolis Zone, reminds me a little of Starlight Zone, being that they both take place at night with a city in the background. It seems you're on a construction site. This stage also has a bunch of hidden springs everywhere. I'm not a big fan of this mechanic, to be honest, as it interrupts my flow too often. Other than that, it's a pretty fun experience with loop-de-loops and mostly predictable hazards. New are the bridges you have to run across at full speed or else you fall down. They too can be a little bit of a pain. The boss is a caterpillar that would return in later games such as Sonic Mania. On the Master System, this is the only boss I had problems with. You see, on the Game Gear it only takes 3 hits. On the Master System it's 8. Plus it becomes painfully obvious that the jumping in this version is a lot more floaty and slower, making it harder to land a hit in my opinion. With a little practice I was able to take him down eventually. Overall, Gigalopolis Zone is a fun, albeit brief stage that is one of the more memorable chapters. Sleeping Egg Zone has a sky so blue that Sonic almost blends in with it. Supposedly, this is a dream world created by the evil doctor. More like a nightmare world because these blocks look horrendous. Could they have picked more barf-inducing colors? Many of these blocks are breakable, but as far as I can tell, there's no way to know which ones. You can even walk through some of them. That's the type of trial and error I can't stand. You can use pogo springs to get to higher areas. That's quite fun as long as you don't smash into walls. For that you would need a pogo cane, Scrooge McDuck style. The stage has one more major design flaw. Bottomless pits. The cheapest death no one sees coming. Especially on the Game Gear with its limited screen size, it's maddening. You have to take baby steps and that's not something I want to do in a goddamn Sonic game of all things. There we go. The boss is a bouncing Robo-Robotnik who fucking shoots at us with guns. Take it easy there, pal. The bullets can be tricky to dodge, but it's not a big deal. I don't like Sleeping Egg Zone at all. It's not visually appealing for the most part, and the gameplay makes me want to pull my hair out. I wouldn't mind if it was difficult for the right reasons. Instead, it's a fairly easy stage with cheap deaths, which is way worse.
Yeah, it's a rotten egg.
But spoiler alert, it's not the worst stage. Mecha Green Hill Zone is what the bad future of Green Hill Zone would look like in Sonic CD. A mechanical paradise if you so will, polluted sky included. On the Game Gear it looks less awful, thank God. There's even oil you can sink into like an oil ocean zone. This stage is littered with more tilted bridges and this is where I grew to despise them. If you don't jump off at the right moment you will fall down. It's the stage where I had the most problems collecting 100 rings. Breakable blocks return here as well. I do like the slopes though. Nice attempt at creating the illusion of 3D. The exploding coconuts definitely deserve a mention. A little irritating, but not terrible. No, terrible is what I would call more bottomless pits. With this many lives in continuous, there's no chance in hell I'll get a game over, but why make my life miserable with all these bullshit deaths? Along with the first, this is the easiest boss in the game. On Game Gear you can simply jump on his head and keep holding right to bounce off of him repeatedly. A similar tactic works on the Master System version, which has added spikes on the floor. I think Mecha Green Hill Zone is my least favorite stage. There's almost nothing I like about it. Sure, you can beat it very quickly if you know where to go, but if you're not going for a speedrun, it feels tedious. It's the most memorable stage in the game, but for all the wrong reasons. Aqua Planet Zone, not to be confused with Aqua Lake Zone, is the mandatory water stage. It takes place in another dimension. Visually, it's the most appealing for me. I love the moving clouds at the top of the stage. Nicely done. Water doesn't take up that much space, so I don't believe you ever run at risk of drowning. I've never even seen the dreaded countdown. One of my most beloved features from 8-bit Sonic 2 returns. You can skim across the surface of water. Good times. There are moments when Sonic is trying not to get pulled in by the current. Charming little moment. Not everything is great, however. Breakable blocks make yet another return and take away some of the fun I had. The boss is kind of an asshole. First you have to destroy a bunch of baby robots. Feels like a waste of time because they're wimpy. Then this bouncing ball appears. Lure him to the right and keep jumping on him. After that he shoots missiles which can be hard to avoid. This is pretty much the only boss I had trouble with on Game Gear, mostly because of the rockets. I didn't expect this, but Aqua Planet Zone is the stage I enjoyed the most. It cuts down on the cheap stuff and offers an all-around smooth experience. Electric Egg Zone is the final level. Its main gimmick? Tubes. I have one question. Why would you bring back the most awful part of Scrambled Egg Zone? I still haven't recovered from that fiasco. One thing I can say is that it's not that bad here. Sure, they still make me sick and can cause some frustrating moments, but it doesn't compare to what I went through last time. So, what else have we got? Laser cannons that follow you around. If you simply run past them, you will most certainly get zapped. Stop for a second and then continue. Bombs from Starlight Zone return, but this time they have eyes. Creepy. This stage has bottomless pits too. Wonderful. It's time to face Robotnik. He is surprisingly tough as he takes 16 hits. I prefer 16 bits, thank you very much. Try to stay in front of him as these blasts can be easily avoided. If you're behind him, he will shoot projectiles that bounce all over the place and surround you. On Master System there can be 2 of them at once, which makes it much more difficult. Why can't you see how many rings you have? After that he tries to ram you, and from what I can tell it's suddenly a one-hit kill. How the fuck would I know that? Hit him one more time and the game is over. Electric Egg Zone is another stage I don't really enjoy thanks to tubes and more bottomless pits. The final boss is not amazing, but infinitely better than in Sonic 2.
There are 2 different endings for Sonic and 1 for Tails. You get the good ending with Sonic if you manage to collect 5 Chaos Emeralds which are found in special stages. These are very unique and take place in a parallel universe, according to the manual.
The first stage has you flying through the air with rocket shoes. This is very fun and there are giant rings that are worth 10 regular rings. You have 59 seconds to get to the Chaos Emeralds. As long as you keep flying right, you will most certainly get it. Special stage 2 has you jump up platforms. A clock makes the time stop for a moment. There are 2 routes you can take. One of them has pogo springs we have to jump off of to get higher up. Because of the floaty controls, I had real trouble with the other path as I often over or undershot my jumps or ran off the edge. With patience, it's easily done though. Stage 3 involves tubes. Oh man. Why is there invincibility at the beginning? There's nothing that can hurt me here, I think. At first you don't really do anything as the game plays itself. Near the end you have to push directional buttons to change course. This can be confusing, but I had no problems finding the Chaos Emerald. Can't say I enjoyed it though. The 4th special stage feels like a regular level. It's full of breakable blocks, springs, and it sadly has bottomless pits. You can use the rocket shoes to skip most of it. Oh, you gotta be kidding me! Well, I kinda prefer it over the tubes. The final bonus level is by far the worst. It's another tube maze, but this one is much larger and quite frankly a giant pain in the butt. Definitely the hardest of the bunch. That said, I only like 60% of the special stages, but I appreciate that they differ in style. The bad ending shows Sonic stumble and fail to stop Robotnik. We don't even get credits. The good ending is very similar. Robotnik escapes, but he drops the 6th emerald. This is followed by the credits and Sonic running inside a giant emerald. Tails always gets the good ending, just without the emeralds. Pretty pointless and unsatisfying if you ask me. Miles' power? Seriously? I'd say getting the good ending is not really worth it. At least I felt disappointed by the whole experience. At first glance, the music has a similar feel to Sonic 2. The title screen and title card music are even from that game. The first two 8-bit games have plenty of memorable tunes. What I noticed about this game is that pretty much none of the tracks got stuck in my head, like at all. Most songs are very forgettable, and to be honest, I don't really like the overall sound, especially on Master System. It's like most tracks have screechy high pitches that bother me. A good example for this are the special stages. Hurts my ears. It's not like these are bad compositions or anything. I like the melody of Gigalopolis Zone, but I can't stand how it sounds. Same goes for Electric Egg Zone. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I strongly dislike it. The song I like the least is Mecha Green Hill Zone. That is remarkable because it's based on Green Hills Zone from Sonic 2, which is one of my favorites in that game. Here it just sounds really awful in my opinion.
I'm sad to say that this is the first time in a while that I won't do a top list for my favorite tracks, because I couldn't even come up with a top 3.
The only track that appeals to me is Tuquoise Hill Zone. Even that wouldn't have made my top 5 in any of the other games, so that basically says everything about this soundtrack. On Game Gear some of the tracks were rearranged, but I can't say I enjoyed them more.
Let's wrap this up.
I know I've sounded like a pessimist so far, but I can't pretend to see something that isn't there. Sonic Chaos is a very underwhelming game that doesn't have the charm of its two predecessors. The spin dash is a plus in my book, and having flying tails as the easy mode in a, granted, already easy game is quite nice. Visually it's a step up as it gets more out of both systems with detailed graphics and a better use of colors. For the most part. That's about all the praise I can come up with. The added details cause some serious slowdown on both platforms when it gets busy on screen. Very distracting. The game is way too easy, but still manages to show you the middle finger with the cheapest of deaths. The controls aren't great either. On Master System the jumping feels off, and on Game Gear Sonic and Tails are sluggish. Complaining about speed in a Sonic game makes me sound like the biggest douche on the planet, but with the smaller screen it's almost unavoidable to run into enemies or fall into bottomless pits constantly. That's why I pretty much never used the super peel out. The overabundance of springs and breakable blocks makes it feel repetitive. That's quite an accomplishment considering how short this game is. Most levels can be beaten within a minute. And can we talk about how many goddamn continues I had with Tails? This is insane! I didn't even try to get them. I'm not a big fan of the 100 rings approach for the bonus stages, as it makes you skip the entire level. Aren't the levels short enough? I don't understand why the bosses take different amounts of hits. The first 4 bosses take 8 hits on Master System, but 5, 3, 5 and 10 on Game Gear. That's so random. Even the badniks are generic and there aren't that many to begin with. As to which version is better, that's tough. I think I'm going to give the edge to the Game Gear port. In contrast to the handheld version of Sonic 2, it's actually playable and the controls are better than on Master System. Still, I believe that the smaller screen isn't that suitable for a character this fast. Listening to the soundtrack while writing this script was unpleasant. I usually love Sonic music, but this is a huge letdown in every way.
I don't know if this game was targeted to even younger kids like drooling infants, but I can't say that it's for me and I don't see myself playing this game ever again.
It's not terrible or even that bad, but such a drop in quality will affect my perception and overall opinion. That's why I have to place it at the bottom of the Sonic games I've reviewed so far. If you had this game as a kid, I'm sure you enjoyed it. I might have liked it as a kid too, who knows? But with my over 30 years of life experience and no nostalgia attached to it, I sadly couldn't connect with Sonic Chaos. That's a shame because I approached it with an open mind and gladly would have given it a more positive review. We can't have everything.
I don't recommend this game unless you're a hardcore Sonic fan that needs to play them all. Personally, I'd rather go back and play the Master System versions of Sonic 1 and 2.
Hey everyone, this is GFrom. Thank you so much for watching episode 8 of season 2. Feel free to rate, comment, subscribe and follow me on Instagram. I'll see you later. Have a nice day.